What's up, guys? This is George Arjour, or George on Tap, and today we're doing the good, the bad, and the ugly. This time it's the Brooklyn Nets, or formerly known as the New Jersey Nets edition. Now, before we get started, I want you to do me a big favor and hit that like and subscribe button. I'm doing every NBA team, good, bad, and ugly. And at the end of the video, I'll also pin that playlist so you can follow all the good, bad, and ugly NBA edition. Now, to the Brooklyn Don't Call Me New Jersey Nets, the second team in New York City. Look, whenever you have a team in New York City, there's always like that rivalry, right? So you have the New York Yankees and the New York Mets. The Yankees are the team of New York. That's like the team everyone thinks of. Giants, Jets, it's Giants. Islanders, Rangers, it's Rangers. And I hope I'm not offending anyone, but if I am, whatever. I don't care. In Brooklyn, in New York, it's the Knicks. The Knicks are the big team. The Nets are the ugly stepsister. They moved to Brooklyn. They made some money. They're actually starting to do a lot better than the Knicks are, and they might even win a championship before the Knicks do, because like free agents like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving ended up choosing the Nets over the Knicks, which you would have maybe 20, 30 years ago said there would no way this would ever happen to the New York Knicks. But let's now get to the fun stuff. Good, the bad, the ugly Brooklyn Nets edition. And we're going to start off with, as usual, the good. The good is the Jason Kidd era, and Jason Kidd specifically for back then it was the New Jersey Nets. Jason Kidd had a splendid career. He was so good, man. I remember as a kid watching Jason Kidd, and he was one of those guys, like, you know, when you're a kid, he wasn't the flashiest player. I would say him and Tim Duncan in general, the two guys that were really good, but really weren't that flashy. So as kids, you didn't really feel like you appreciated him as enough, right? I don't feel like I appreciated Jason Kidd or Tim Duncan enough growing up, which is ironic because, well, Jason Kidd actually met Tim Duncan in an NBA Finals, and I remember when I was a kid, I'm like, this is the most boring NBA Finals of all time. Spurs and Nets, two really boring teams. But Jason Kidd had a lot of good for the New Jersey Nets back then. He led the team to back-to-back NBA Finals appearances in 2002 and 2003, where they lost to the Lakers and Spurs. He was named All-NBA First Team in 2002, 2003, and 2004, and he was stellar on defense, with 2001 and 2002 being named to All-NBA Defensive First Team. So overall, that was the best era in New Jersey Nets / Brooklyn Nets history. That was really good for Jason Kidd. Now to the bad. The bad, well, that has to be Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and well, I guess a little bit of Brook Lopez too, but we're going to go with the bad with Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce were traded to the Brooklyn Nets in what might be the most lopsided trade in NBA history, and that's why they find themselves on the bad list. Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Jason Terry from the Celtics to the Brooklyn Nets, and this is what the Nets acquired. Gerald Wallace, the Celtics acquired, Gerald Wallace, Chris Humphries, Marshawn Brooks, Chris Joseph, and Keith Boak. What's the big deal? None whatsoever, because none of those guys were really good. But now let's talk about the first-round picks they received, which basically they received 4 first-round draft picks from the Brooklyn Nets to the Boston Celtics. This is why the era is so bad, because if this team, they could find themselves where the Celtics were, but without having to pay Durant and Kyrie, or even maybe just adding this on top of KD and Kyrie. They gave up their 2014 first-round pick. It turns out to be James Young, who never panned out. But here's where it gets good. 2016 first-round pick, that ended up being Jaylen Brown. 2017 first-round pick, that ended up being Jason Tatum. And a 2018 first-round pick, and that was used to acquire Kyrie Irving from the Cavaliers. I know he didn't really pan out at the end, but that's what they got. So essentially, they traded Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and Jason Terry for Gerald Wallace, Chris Humphries, Marshawn Brooks, Chris Joseph, Keith Bogans, James Young, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kyrie Irving. Worst trade maybe in NBA history, and Rudy Gobert somewhere sitting out there and saying, hopefully I don't become the worst trade in NBA history. And I added Brook Lopez's time with the Nets as a bad too. He was a great player for them and was one of the best centers in the league during his time. But it was like from 2008 to 2017, the team struggled. They had some really bad seasons. They finished near the bottom of the Eastern Conference over and over again. They only made the playoffs twice in Brook Lopez's 9 seasons with the team, and they never advanced past the first round of the playoffs. He was a one-time All-Star. It's not like he was bad, but that era in general represents a bad era in Brooklyn Nets history. Now to the ugly, and that's Kyrie Irving's controversy. controversies. Look, Kyrie Irving might end up being, who knows? I mean, the Nets are playing good right now. I know Kevin Durant's hurt. They might end up being a lot better and maybe making a finals appearance. You never know. The NBA is so wide open right now. So this ugly could end up not being up. But with him sitting out most of his last season because of didn't want to take the vaccine, and this year with what he said about the Holocaust and sharing out documentaries about it, Kyrie Irving found himself in a whole lot of trouble and gave himself a really, really bad taste in a lot of Brooklyn Nets mouths, right? So in general, I kind of feel like that controversy with Kyrie Irving has to be the ugly side of the Brooklyn Nets history. So overall, the Brooklyn Nets have never really won shit, right? I guess you could say I was thinking about putting Dr. J up there, but I kind of figured he was fine with the Nets, but they never really won a championship or got to the NBA Finals like they did with Jason Kidd. So he got the nod as the good. Overall, not the best history for the Brooklyn/New Jersey Nets. And in general, hopefully they can turn that around and have a better franchise going forward. And thank you guys for watching. This has been George Arjour. As I told you guys, I pinned the playlist suggested videos. I hope you like it, and please, 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 I'd really appreciate it if you can subscribe to my channel, as I am doing sports videos and I'm traveling, showing you guys live vlogs at sporting events.